everybody, I'm Bret Williams.
I'm Paige Loves.
I'm Cooper Frank.
I'm Abby Elliott.
And I'm Josh Elliott.
And
Welcome
today
to
we
News
are
5.
going to review The Breakfast Club.
Woo!
I've been wanting to review for The Breakfast Club for the longest time because I love this movie. It's very close to my heart, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I also really like this movie.
So one of the best parts about this movie to me is how the characters are played out and how they all have their own problems. It's just all these different people coming together and having conversations and stuff like that. I just loved it. John Hughes is a genius.
And them all being stereotypes really helps them be relatable to anyone. Because you might not relate to Allison, but you could relate to Claire and Brian.
The whole idea of breaking the stereotypes in that way, it almost kind of became a stereotype in itself. The misunderstood this person, the misunderstood this person.
I think the whole point of it was to be everyone's a person, everybody has their own battles, you don't know what people are going through.
With each stereotype, there was a different ending to each character. Like, you would really never expect the nerd to be the one who's tried to commit suicide.
I could tell when I was watching this movie that John Hughes was just one of those guys who just observed things in school. You know, like the different stereotypes and stuff like that. And he really brings this into his, like, own ways of imagining things, I guess.
In my opinion, this is the best John Hughes movie. This is fantastic. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is fantastic. And 16 Candles and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles are both good, but I think they're overrated.
Yeah.
I don't think 16 Candles over it. I really like 16 Candles.
I think Scream is the best John Hughes movie.
John Hughes didn't sugarcoat the truth of high school, especially like in the scene where they're all sitting in the circle. They're like, I consider you friends, and then they're like, but we're never gonna talk to each other again. And that's something that happens that's not represented. It's not the perfect ending where everyone's friends and they talk to each other all the time. That scene I felt was very, very important to show that this isn't a typical teenage high school movie.
Usually when there are dramatic moments, they use like humor to lighten up the scene, and he did a great job with that. Because in the circle scene, Brian's talking about killing himself, and then he brings up the flare gun, and it's all funny, and they're all laughing. He did a really good job at lightening the tension and stuff like that.
A lot of what this movie is belongs to the actors, in my opinion, because a lot of this was improvisation and added lines. It wasn't a script so much as it was an outline of what the scene needed to be. They would probably go over one scene like 100 times before they actually had their final cut.
Honestly, if there were any other actors cast in this movie, it wouldn't have been the same. Yeah, that's real intelligent.
You're right. It's wrong to destroy literature. Such fun to read, and Mole really pumps my nads.
Moyer.
I love his work. Big deal. Nothing to do when you're locked in a vacancy.
Speak for yourself.
Do you think I'd speak for you? I don't even know your language.
Hey, are you grounded tonight?
I don't know. My mom said I was, but my dad told her just to blow her off.
Gonna be a pretty big party at Stubby's. My parents are in Europe. It's gonna be pretty wild.
Yeah?
Yeah, you wanna go?
I doubt it.
How come?
Well, because if I do what my mom tells me not to do, it's because my dad says it was okay. And it's this whole big monster deal. It's endless and it's a total drag. And it's like any minute, divorce.
Who do you like better?
What?
You like your old man better than your mom?
They're both strict.
No, I mean, if you had to choose between them.
I don't know. Probably gonna live with my brother. I don't think either one of them really gives a shit about me. It's like they just use me to get back at each other. Shut up!
They really bring their own personalities to their characters, and it really shines, and it really shows.
These reviews are really boring when we all agree with each other.
I'll play devil's advocate now.
The relationships, they had good build-up.
Fender is my least favorite character.
If you didn't notice, we're all dressed like characters.
I thought this is just how we all regularly dress.
I dress like
Yeah,
this.
that's true.
The scene where Claire, when she makes Allison all pretty and everything, like, I just thought it was overdone. Because when she comes out of the room and everything, she's wearing, like, a pink dress, and I was like, where did she get that?
Undercuts the whole, I think, the whole message of the movie, because kind of Allison's selling out. She was just alone and wanted friends, and that's why she was like that.
I really wish that with that scene, they would have still done the like doing up sort of thing because I felt like that was a big thing for her character. She finally felt good about herself, but I wish they would have kept her old clothes.
Then it seems like she changes who she is completely to fit into society or to get people to like her.
It doesn't have to be who she changes completely who she is. It's more that that's who she wanted to be in the first place. My least favorite scene, I remember the first time watching it, I was like, this is just going on too long. Seeing where they were running through the hallway. That's one scene where I don't really understand the purpose of the whole thing. Because most of the scenes, they move along the characters and who they are. But other than having Bender put himself in trouble, that's the only thing that really does.
Yeah.
It could have gone with them taking it out of the locker, them getting caught, and then maybe a couple shots of them running, and then they run into the problem where Andrew puts them the wrong way, and then that would have been fine. It's just that it kind of ran a little long to me.
Scenes like outside of like the library, I felt they were not like as impactful or as powerful as the scenes inside the library.
Going back to the running scene though, there had been so many scenes before it of just talking that I think they needed that little boost in energy to keep the movie going.
A scene that I was kind of like, about was the scene where Claire and Bender are in the closet together.
Oh, no.
When they cut to her kissing his neck, it was kind of just like a prolonged sort of thing, and it was kind of awkward.
I think that's what it was kind of meant to be, though. It was supposed to be kind of awkward because he was like, what are you, like, what?
During the end, to me, it felt like it was supposed to be more sexual.
What do you have to say?
I just think that you're wrong. It's where both their character arcs kind of climax at, because there's been this tension between both of them the whole time.
I've noticed that.
Have you ever kissed a boy on the mouth? Like that scene, you can see that she's like really captivated in what he's saying and not just completely disgusted, like she's leaning on, and they're both like really into each other and the tension's really high, and it's Andrew that takes them out of it.
I just wish that she had maybe kissed him on the lips, because I felt like the neck thing was just a little weird.
I do want to say that these are just little nitpicks, and I feel like the only reason we are nitpicking the movie is because the nitpicks are really the only problems with it.
I don't think I've ever been as invested as I was in any other movie than this one. So this is one of my probably top 3 favorite movies of all time.
Wow. Oh yeah, spoilers by the way.
That came out in 1984. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
It was 85, I think.
Is it really any? No,
Go
it's
watch
84.
it.
Is it really?
It's 85.
Pretty sure it's 84.
Okay.
It was 85.
I'm 100% sure it's 85.
Look it up.
If it says 85, it says 84 in the movie, so suck my dick if I'm wrong.
I'll have to pass on that.
85.
It says 84 in the movie, so I had an educated guess.
I definitely want to do more videos like this where we watch more movies that are like back in the day.
Yeah. Have any of you seen Nightmare on Elm Street? Because I saw that for the first time a couple days
Have you
ago.
guys seen
You
Fast
have?
Times at Ridgemont High?
I have
want
not.
to review that.
I want to.
I-
Has
Let's
everyone
give
seen
you
it?
a clue.
Let's show you The Outsider.
I love this movie. It's a cinematic masterpiece. The way that it's shot, the way that the actors really take into the role and improvise and make this movie their own is something that's rarely found in the movies these days. It's such an important piece of cinema that you need to see to respect everything in the movie world in the 80s and stuff. It's just one of those movies that you have to see. I give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, if you haven't seen this movie, I will fight you.
Bret?
And I will win. This movie is great. It's not perfect. Obviously, no movies are perfect. I gave like 3 movies just recently a 10 out of 10. I don't know why I did that. I guess I'm just too nice. Dunkirk.
Oh my, you gave Dunkirk a 10 out of 10.
If you watch the
It was
review,
good.
you'd know.
I gave it a 9 and Molly gave it an 8.
I would
so
give it a
like,
7.
I would give it
Okay.
an 8.
Can we continue with the breakfast?
Well, yeah,
Club?
this
Breakfast
movie
Club.
is great. I love it. I've always loved it ever since I first saw it, and it never gets old to me. Even now, when you look back to it, you can still like relate to its messages and the point that it's trying to get across. I can still understand it and relate to it, because even though it's back in the 80s, it still kind of feels like some of the modern day like stereotypes that we have. Actually, not a lot of stuff has changed since the 80s when it comes to stereotypes. I would definitely give it the same score. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
I have
Thanks.
nothing
I
original to
remember what
add,
was
so
there,
I'm
so.
just gonna go ahead and give it a 9 out of 10.
Everybody already knows why this movie's great, and I don't need to tell you why this movie is great, so I'm just gonna give it a 9.
I actually watched this movie once when I was 12, and I was like, wow, that's really good. But then I picked it up recently, like in July, and I watched it 8 times in a row because I got really interested in like John Bender as a character. It really got me into the movie and everything about it, and I started analyzing and trying to figure out what reaction they would have had back then if I was a teenager in '85, and I just really love it. So I give this movie 9 Captain Crunch and Pixie Stick sandwiches out of 10.
So our
Out of
final
10?
verdict as a total is a 9 out of 10. What did you think of The Breakfast Club? I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah,
since
camera. What did you think?
So
The 10 of you that watch this review, what do you think of The Breakfast
Hey,
Club?
12.
Paige, how you doing?
Me in
How
2
you
weeks
doing,
when you
Billy?
watch this. How are you doing? Did you get that thing done? You sure did. Did you figure out that thing you were trying to figure out? I hope so.
How was the MT performance?
Comment below what the empty
What the
What was the reaction?
If you comment, I'll send you a cake.
We get the most comments on any video ever.
I'm sorry.
Moyer.
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 Ha! We're Goof Troop, and we always stick together.
Right, left, right, run, left, back, forward.
I keep.
2. Back. Forward. Forward. Jump.
Oh shoot!
And 1, 2, 3.